All right, now that you're warmed up, let's get into this story. First, let's address the controversies that have been, not all of them, but just a couple of them that have surrounded Sinners here since its release. Jeff, the Vulture wrote a horror article that was essentially saying that the deal Ryan Coogler made is going to destroy Hollywood, possibly, because he's essentially will get the rights back in 25 years for this movie. He's getting paid before the movie makes a profit, and he's worked out a certain system. And then it came out from intrepid reporters that Tarantino, like you, that Tarantino and Mel Gibson, other directors have had this deal in the past. And then there was this other controversy around Sinners and what Ryan Coogler was trying to say about the movie. And a lot of people are going crazy about that kind of stuff as well. And whether how the movie was covered in terms of whether it can make a profit or not felt slightly racist. There was just a lot of conversations around this thing. So let's address that before we address your upset article about people's emotional feelings about a movie. Go ahead. Yes.
Well, I mean, I thought the Vulture article, I understand that talking to an executive, right, from an executive's point of view, it's like, well, shit, if now every single if some filmmaker, whether it's Greta Gerwig or Fincher or James Cameron or a million others, say, well, you guys gave Ryan Coogler this deal, why can't I get this deal? I've been making movies for 2 decades longer and I've won Oscars, and Ryan Coogler doesn't have that. I want this deal too. Well, eventually you start making movies and you don't own any of them, and then you don't have a library, and then you're fucked. Okay, so that's what that executive was talking about. Yeah. Now, on the flip side, does this deal matter at all? No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter whatsoever, because guess what? Warner Bros. Ain't going to be around in 25 years. It's going to be left in 5 years. So who gives a shit, right? Like, I can't, like, we're all on pins and needles to see what Ryan Coogler does 25 years from now with this IP. He's going to open up his own Sinners theme park, and we're going to ride Sinners roller coasters. I mean, come on. The Vulture thing, it got people riled up because obviously, you know why? Because people can't see beyond race. Okay? Yes. And well, so to them, it was probably some white executive being quoted about how this black man shouldn't own the art that he creates. And like, I love just like the game of like Ryan Coogler being like, well, this movie was about ownership and it was really important to me that I own it. Like, bro, you are in a position to make certain demands, and God bless you for making them. Like you put yourself in that position, you earned it. And not only Warner Brothers, again, was not the only studio that was willing to give him that ownership, right? You are what you're worth in the market, right? So if he's worth giving the ownership back after 25 years, by all means do it. You haven't heard me knock him for that.
Right. No.
Like, get that bag, Ryan.
Exactly.
This guy is obviously one of the great generational talents. Great talents of his generation. He is 5 for 5 in my book. And I liked Sinners. That's the other thing. People can't read. They just go to like the negativity, right? That's why everyone thinks I'm so negative. They don't take the time to look or hear the positive. So I liked Sinners, but I gave it a B. And you know what? There's a big difference between a B and an A. There's flaws. And to me, that first wave of reactions, there were no flaws. This movie could do no wrong. It's the perfect movie. A+, A++. And that's just crazy to me, because to me, it shows that people just don't understand what actual great writing is. Now, I'm not saying that I'm, No. You don't get to say, no. You don't get to let yourself off the hook. Okay. No self-deprecating nonsense here. You can't be so hardcore in one direction. And they go, but I'm just a simple messenger for my, no, bitch. Own your comments. Own what you said. Okay. I'm going to.
Own it. All right. Don't say like, I'm not saying I am, because you are saying it with your comments. You are saying it. So I want to make that clear.
I'm not saying I'm the world's greatest film critic. Most film critics, or at least on film Twitter, maybe they went to film school. Maybe.
Right.
But most of them just are people who love movies.
Okay.
They don't understand, to me, the way a movie should fit together, a story should fit together, like I do, that I personally think I do.
See,
and to me, themes were so obvious. They were so clear.
Yeah.
How can people give this movie a pass? And I gave it a pass in the sense that I liked it. I was entertained. But to call it a perfect movie, this is insanity.
Fine. I never said it was a perfect movie. And I know you didn't list me in your article as someone whose reviews you care about, which of course I'll just roll with that and let it sit. But like,
I did writers.
Yeah, you did writers, right? Well, whatever. The thing is, when you look at,
they don't just go on YouTube. But forgive me.
There's value in that. I don't care what you say. But there's quite a few critics here who liked the movie of renown. A. Dowd, David Sims at The Atlantic, Adam Naiman, Justin Chang at NPR. Like, it is across the board gotten some wonderful reviews, fantastic reviews. You didn't specify which critics you were coming after for speaking glowingly about the movie. You said in your article, critics in general.
Of course, and it's why, and that's what I love. When I'm speaking in generalities and people are like, he's talking about me. I'm talking about when I look out the window.
Yes.
I'm sure I could have looked and found someone criticizing this or that. But when I look out the window, it's a sea of positivity. It's a sea of, this is the most mind-blowing movie I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it.
Right.
I've seen a lot of things like it. Okay. It was a beautiful mess, just like David Poland said. Because he's a discerning critic, just like Wells, just like Rumi.
So you're saying these other critics are not discerning critics. Justin Chang, not a discerning critic. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying Justin.
Because they were positive about the movie. You got to own your words.
I didn't read Justin Chang's review. Okay.
So then, how can you say only these critics?
Read every fucking review to have to be able to comment on it.
Well, I mean, if you're going to make a bold statement like these critics are the ones you should listen to because they're the discerning ones, it implies the other ones who were glowing about the movie are not. And I don't think that's true.
I mean, I have very different tastes than Justin Chang. Okay?
Well, that's fair. And that's fair. That's a perspective. But see, the thing is, you can offer a different point of view. No one's going to tell you not to do that, Jeff. It's but when you're saying, you're essentially implying that all the other critics who like the movie do not have discerning tastes, aren't being honest in their criticism, are getting caught up in the herd and glowingly praising the movie.
We say that every week on the show.
We say that about people who come out of the premieres. That's a different situation. These are critics that didn't necessarily go to premieres, saw the film on their own, like, or a screening or whatever. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that anyone took anything off their fastball because Ryan Coogler's black?
If you're asking me general, there's no way I can know one way or another. Did some people do? Yes. Did other people not? Yes. I just don't know, though, because that and just because some did doesn't mean the entire critics, every critic who liked it is now painted with a tainted brush. That doesn't make sense either. And how do you know that your favorite critics you listed in your article don't have an issue with Ryan Coogler? Or don't have an issue with a black filmmaker, or don't you can't speak to that.
In fact, some people would accuse them of having issues with black filmmakers.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay, but to me, I respect Jeff Wells. I've been reading Jeff Wells for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I know Jeff Wells is not a perfect human being, and he says stuff that is just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Do I respect his opinion on film?
Right.
Yes. Okay. Poland, yes. If one of these guys had done backflips for this movie, I would have been very surprised. And I wasn't surprised that they didn't because they have discerning taste and they tell it like it is. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to tell it like it is. We are one of the few people.
That's true.
It. And it's not that again, if you read that piece, then you saw I respect Faraci's opinion. Faraci he's the greatest critic. I think he's an incredible writer. I could never do what he does.
Right.
And he loved it. He called it a masterpiece. I disagree with him, but at least he made a great argument. Right. Other people didn't make that argument, John. Okay.
Well, you just said you didn't read their article.
Of course, but I also read plenty. Okay. And they didn't make the arguments. It was basically just like, oh my God, Ryan Coogler's the greatest. This movie needs to be a Best Picture nominee. And I'm like, this is a fucking vampire musical, and the second half doesn't work. Okay, this is a vampire movie that is awkwardly grafted onto an otherwise interesting musical, a drama about two brothers trying to start a business. It's ambitious. It's admirable what he attempted, but do I think that he landed the ship 100%? No.
That's fair. Again, it is fair for you to not feel the movie is 100% where it needs to be.
What's wrong with a beat? Why am I a racist or a hater?
It's because you denigrate everyone else who liked it in that article. You went after anyone else who said, you was like, what is wrong with these critics? And you're implying that they're being influenced. You just implied they're being influenced because it's Ryan Coogler. Or they're being influenced by being afraid to say anything negative.
I do. I absolutely think that. I absolutely think that because I can't trust the critical community. They've proven themselves to be untrustworthy.
But and in the critical community. Yeah, I know you love to say in your article, you're like, I'm no critic. You are a critic. You are a critic. You are a
criticism. I write criticism, but I don't consider myself a film critic. I am a first and foremost.
I could give a fuck if you think you're a critic, if you think you're a critic or not. You are a critic. It's irrelevant whether you think it or not. Objectively, you are a critic.
What we're talking about. When I looked at so many responses, and it just felt like I could buy, like, and a lot of them were from Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, geez, I really respect this opinion more. And this is going to sound horrible. Like, if you weren't Black, because you're Black, it makes me suspicious of this reaction, because it feels like, and did you listen to Jason Whitlock's thing? I'm doing a poorly.
I don't listen to that clown do a goddamn thing. Okay. That guy is a self-serving lying clown.
He's one of ours, and people and Black people felt the need to defend what is, one of their own. And no one would dare say this movie was okay. It was good. It wasn't great. No one dared to say that. I understand when people say, oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, this is a great movie, or Parasite, this is a great movie, blah, 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 blah. This didn't make sense to me because the flaws were just so glaring and apparent.
Yeah, but I want to take you back to a week ago. And I want to make it clear. So you accuse these critics of this thing, and they're like going in and they're going to take something off their fastball because it's Ryan Coogler, because it's a Black filmmaker and all of this. But every conversation I had with you before you went to the movie, you were questioning people's opinions about the movie. You had read other people's reviews.
First of all, that's all movies. That's not about Sinners at all.
Oh, fine. But you had read some reviews that were negative about Sinners. So in your mind, you were already went in a little bit biased.
I'd heard negative.
Right.
Not even negative things. I'd heard that it was kind of a mess.
Right.
And it kind of was.
Right. But
that doesn't mean bias. This just, I don't understand. It's not
I think you had bias going in, just like you accuse other people had bias going in before they went to see the movie.
That's insane.
That's fine. This is insane as you accusing other people having bias. The flip side of the coin must be true if the other side of the coin is true.
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
The bias that I'm projecting onto people is that they're going to say it's positive no matter what. Whereas the bias you're projecting onto me is that I was always going to say it's negative, so that I could validate my sources' opinions. Yeah. My sources don't give a fuck what I think about their opinions, nor do I care about their opinions. I care about their information.
Right. But you had said, like, I can't believe everyone's so, there's no way this movie is as great as you kept saying that. Hey, well, because you went in with your mind made up.
That validated. I saw it with my own eyes and was like, oh shit, now I know what they were talking about.
Right.
You don't think I went in there and was like, holy shit, I was stoked. I was fucking pumped. Okay.
Okay.
Are you saying I'm lying about being?
No, I'm saying that nothing you said in the show last week indicated that you were pumped to go see the movie. You were very skeptical. You weren't sure if you were going to enjoy it. You wanted to see for yourself if my review, which you kind of insinuated was a little over the top, was
over the top, just like all the others. Which, I get it.
But I didn't do it because he's Black. I did it because I legitimately had a reaction to the movie that moved me. And I thought it was genius. And I'm going to go back and chew it over again about what I missed in this movie and the commentary. And he was on NPR today. It's an incredible interview, him talking about what was going on in that movie. And Jeff, you're ignoring the audiences who are giving it massive positive scores.
That's another thing. It's like, oh, did you see the interview where he talked about it? I mean, I don't give a fuck about the interviews. I don't care about the meanings. I don't care about the influences. I care about what's on the screen. I don't care how much love was made with. Okay. I don't care that his wife and college buddy produced it with him. There was something missing from the movie, very obviously.
Okay. For you, there was something missing. Understood.
I'm glad. And listen, you are one of the more honest critics. And it's
that.
I didn't say, oh, you're only giving this a positive review because he's Black.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who are afraid to voice their criticisms because he's black and because they didn't want to be seen taking down a black movie. And I saw it, even from people who love the movie, black people I follow on Twitter, they're like, black people are bringing stuff to this movie that's not even there. Like people, one guy, I think he may have been a comedian, but he's like, I see my fellow black people being like, oh, this movie is actually about demilitarizing the police. He's like, I didn't see that, but you know what? Good for you guys. And I do think that people, like, I am not a deep thinker about these movies. I'm not here. I don't know the history of the blues and how it inspired Irish folk music. Right. That's what I loved about Faraci's piece. Okay. Right. But I'm attacking the movie on a just a base level where it's like, this is not entirely satisfying. This was a very good first half of the movie that gave way to genre shenanigans because he needed to justify a $90 million budget, or really a $110 million budget. That was too high. Okay. Why was this movie so expensive, John?
I don't know.
See, it's like a one location movie for the most part. Yeah, you just have to set up the little town at the beginning.
I think maybe because it was shot in IMAX and the cameras they were using probably.
Right. It looked great, and it probably took like three or four months to shoot. It's probably a long shoot. Right?
Yeah. True.
But like, okay, well then you need a stronger producer.
Right.
Okay. To me, it's not even about this shit. It's about the script. The script, he said it like it was a badge of honor, John. 4 months from first draft to production. How many movies can you name that have done that? I can't name any.
Probably not many. Yeah.
Right? None notable ones.
I mean, John Hughes used to write stuff over a weekend, but that's not really like, classic films like this film.
Guess what? I got to tell you something. Ryan Coogler is not John Hughes. Okay? There are two different people. One is Ryan Coogler, the writer, and one is Ryan Coogler, the director. And the writer bit off more than the director could chew. Okay? The script,
I disagree with you so much about this, but okay. I mean, I respect.
I want so much shit I got for what I thought was the best scene. Like, here I am. I'm trying to give him credit. Right? I thought that mid-credit scene was great.
Yeah. That was genius.
Guy.
Oh.
That to me harkened back to that Barry Shabaka heavy scene from Collateral, right?
Yeah.
Different outcomes, obviously.
Right.
But like, I love that, and the fact that Stack was allowed to live. Smoke let him live because he made that promise, and he lived up to it. Like, I thought all that was so cool.
Yeah.
Now, the dance scene, right? Okay, that's like a cool idea, right? To see the generations of past and present. Very cool scene. But that to me is like a concept for a music video. To me, he didn't engage with that idea. It just kind of happens, and then nobody talks about it all. What do you mean? Go ahead, argue.
Here's what I can tell you. I loved it. I thought he earned it. And when it happened, I was like, I fell back in my chair like, this would normally be pretentious. This would normally not work. This would normally be awkward. And my initial reaction was like, what the fuck is, and then when it went forward, I'm like, oh, I see. Damn, the way he made it all work. And because later on, we see another version of that with Remick when he has converted or bit so many of the townsfolk out him doing that demonic tribal dance there with the Irish music. It's meant to be the balance to that. And I thought that was fantastic because one is about carrying something on and improving upon it and creating a better future and honoring the roots. The other one is about taking from everything to create my own kind of bastardized version of it. And I thought that was genius. One is pure, one is tainted. And so I thought the balance between the two was the whole point of that stuff. So I thought it was genius in my personal
and I'm glad you got a lot out of it. To me, it felt like he just sprinkled in, and again, these are legitimately good ideas. They're interesting ideas, but then he just moves on to the next one. There's too many ideas in it. And if you had just spent, again, if you had done another pass on this script, I think that this whole thing would have been a lot more cohesive. But they rushed it into production. And so he drops a cool scene like that unites the generations of past and present. And then he kind of just moves on. And it's like, okay, I know we're watching modern day black dudes dancing through the 1920s. Do the other characters see these people?
I don't know. It's a great question. I don't think they do, obviously.
They just disappear after that number.
But that's how music is. And I think that's what he was saying with that, is that certain music, and especially because Preacher Boy was pumped up to, or was presented to be someone whose voice is otherworldly, so much so that Remick comes onto the scene because his voice is from the generations before and the generations to come. So it's an otherworldly, supernatural thing, his voice. So the fact that people were dancing to his song implies that they themselves were being transported in some subconscious way to the future and the past while being in the present. So for me, I took it in that way. But, if you didn't feel that, I totally understand. Yeah.
Again, I'm not here to write a book or do some sort of, psychoanalytical deep dive on all the themes. That's not who I am. I came out of the movie on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And was asked, what'd you think? And I was like, it was okay. It's good. I don't understand how anyone could get out of that movie and be like, oh, masterpiece. Wow. Like, it's just too messy.
Okay.
Was From Dusk Till Dawn a masterpiece? And that's the thing, again, I wasn't mad so much at the movie. It's about the reaction to the movie and the fact that everything is a masterpiece these days to everybody, it seems like, including you, apparently.
I thought it was. I think it's an auteur's masterpiece. Yes. I think this will be a Criterion collection within 6 months, guaranteed, just like Anora is about to come out as a Criterion collection. I think this is absolutely one of those ones you put in the mantle.
No scale, right? Like when Perry calls season 2 of Andor phenomenal. It's like, okay, well, what's Chernobyl?
Chernobyl is phenomenal as well.
I guess they can both be phenomenal, but
we're eating so well right now. I don't know why you're being mad at the chef in the kitchen for bringing out so many incredibly well-tasting plates. I don't know why you're upset. Why do we have to be? There's only 4 of them that can be phenomenal. Anything after that, you guys are being way too hyperbolic. It's ridiculous. And I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. You should be enjoying this.
I mean, I don't watch Andor. I don't watch The Last of Us.
Right.
But when I'm just like, obviously film is a subjective medium.
Everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, I've always felt like, with movies, at least, I've done music criticism, and it was impossible because it's like, how can I describe what I like musically and then tell someone what they like musically is wrong? But with movies, I do believe there's a right and wrong. I believe that there's a correct answer. Is this good? Is this a good movie? I think there's a correct answer to the question. That's any movie.
Okay.
And there are levels of answering in there. But I don't see how this movie, Sinners, how the level of masterpiece is even on the table because of how awkward so much of it is. I mean, it just doesn't. It's a bunch of flavors that don't go together. It's a great looking suit that doesn't fit.
But who decides what are the great movies? It isn't the minority that didn't like them. It isn't the minority that didn't like them. It's the majority of the critics at the time that did. And they stand the test of time, right? The Godfather was seen as a classic movie when it came out. And then because a majority of the critics were wowed by it. But that still got some critics who didn't like The Godfather. There were critics who didn't like Citizen Kane. There were critics who didn't like Blade Runner. There are critics who don't like every great. There are always notable critics who don't like every great movie. If you say there's a right or wrong, you are on the wrong side of this movie because a majority of the major critics tell you that this is a classic.
But why are the two sides? You either hate it or it's a masterpiece. And this is what I'm getting at. People are like, Jeff, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
No, I don't think you are.
I think you choose one side of my mouth to talk out of. Can it only be masterpiece and hater? The truth is it's somewhere in the middle, which is what a B means. It wasn't a C. It wasn't a mixed negative review. It was a mixed positive review while pointing out why this isn't an A for me. Right. And so many people have written to me and agreed, and they're like, yeah, this movie was mid. It was this. It was that. This didn't work for me. That didn't work for me. Different things are going to work and not work for different people. But the fact is that there are things that don't work, and to ignore that and to just pretend that this is the greatest movie ever because it's the greatest movie the last 4 months. Like where was this talk when The Brutalist was vying for Best Picture? You're telling me Sinners is a better movie than The Brutalist? I don't respect your opinion. That's what I'd say.
The Brutalist, that second half of The Brutalist is a bit of a mess. Don't tell me that it isn't. What are you talking about? The second half is not as strong as the first half, and you know that. And that's a bit of a mess, yet that's considered a masterpiece. And listen, I got to put you on the table on this one. You saying that certain critics, because they're black, are taking the softball. Don't you think they could turn around and you and be like, you're Jewish, so you like The Brutalist and you're trumpeting it all over the place because it's about a Jewish story? You can turn the same reasoning back on you.
The idea that I like Jewish stories,
well, I'm just saying you can turn the
imagine if I was on a first date and they're like, what kind of movies do you like? I'm like, I like Jewish ones.
Like what? Well, it's the same thing as saying black people are trumpeting this movie because it's black movie, because it's a black movie, that they're not capable of discerning criticism.
To criticize a black filmmaker. And I understand that impulse. There aren't a lot of black filmmakers. This is the number one black filmmaker. So of course you want to build them up. People are cheering on. I mean, how many people are fucking taking screenshots? I mean, this is just like a hobby people apparently have. Is they'll go to the Tuesday matinee showing. They don't have no reason to. They're not planning to buy tickets to Tuesday matinee. They just want to screenshot how full the theater is, so they can be like, look at how well it's doing. Like they're rooting it on. Like who gives a shit?
But that's the thing. People came after Spike Lee's movies when they started falling off the cliff. People came after Nia DaCosta recently, a black filmmaker, for the Marvel. So this idea that people are taking this edge off the ball because he's black, I think doesn't hold water, because quite a few black filmmakers have been criticized for their movies by black critics and by critics of all color. So I think this is one you just didn't like, or didn't like. Sorry.
This is what I'm getting at.
This is one you didn't give an A to, and you think that if anyone does give an A, there must be something wrong with them. And the truth is, maybe you just got this one wrong. If there is a right and wrong in your mind, I don't believe that's everything's subjective. But if you believe there's a right and wrong, maybe you just got this one wrong.
Listen, I already know I'm wrong. It's not like nothing anyone can say. I mean, if they were going to, it was going to be Faraci and his review.
Right. Who you respect. Yeah.
Like, I am set in my opinions. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's why I love debating you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know what I saw on that screen, and I know that it had problems. One of my best friends just called an hour before the show, and he's like, I saw Sinners last night. I go, what'd you think? He goes, B+.
Wow.
So it's fine if you like it a little bit more than me. There's going to be a lot of things that people like a little bit more than me. But to like it on the level that I saw, my brain just couldn't comprehend it because it's a so obviously flawed movie.
Right. Well, I had 4 friends go see it this week, 2 Jewish white guys. They all loved it, thought it was a masterpiece, and we reviewed it on the Geek Buddies, and all 3 of us were glowing about it. And 1 white guy, 1 Jewish guy, 1 Latino guy. So the thing is, it isn't just about anything like in that way. So I think it's just not your cup of tea, and fully, because it is your B cup of tea. So I respect that, but it is what it is. But I just think I know coming out of premieres, me and you, we don't take those reviews seriously. And I think that a lot of people are now finally coming around to that. But when the subsequent reviewers come out and they're saying the same thing, then at some point you have to say, well, this is what a majority of people feel. I'm not in that boat. And I think that's the situation. I didn't pick up on certain elements maybe that spoke to other people.
Maybe, people who are also familiar with this the blues,
the cultural elements,
all that kind of stuff.
But,
just as I didn't pick up on that stuff and maybe should have appreciated certain elements of it more, the fact that people are willing to overlook all the totally legit criticisms that I lobbied at this movie, me, it is indicative of just like they're unwilling to say, and it's not just black people, because white people more than anybody, like black people at least have the freedom to say whatever the fuck they want. White people are the ones who are like, I don't know if I should say this because I could be called a racist. Guess what? I was called a racist. I was called Remick for giving the movie a B and saying I liked it. It's just not a masterpiece.
You're from Boston. I mean, it might be that. All right, let's let it be there.